Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. On today's video I'll be showing you how to make the back part of a basic bodice pattern. I'll do the second part in my next video, which is the front part and the bust dart. I previously did a video on how to draft a basic bodice, which is full scale and beginner friendly, and I have slight variations with that one. So if you've not seen that video, I'll leave the link in the description so that you can watch it. Now on today's video I have the following measurements for this pattern, so ensure that you take your accurate body measurements while drafting this pattern or while testing out your pattern. Now that I have all of my measurements, we are going to move to the tools. So I have my pattern paper, I have a straight ruler, I have my ruler, I have a French curve, I have an eraser, and I also have a pencil. Okay, so now that I have all of these patterns, all of these tools, we are going to head straight into the tutorial. Now the first thing we need to do is to mark out a straight line from the top of the paper to the bottom, and from the top of the paper I will be placing my shoulder high point from the shoulder to the waistline of the back. Now the shoulder high point from the shoulder to the waistline of the back, what I have is 15.5. So I'll place a mark of 15.5 at the top and also at the bottom where 15.5 stop. Now that I've placed the mark, I'll go ahead to draw a horizontal line at the bottom, which is going to serve as the waistline. So you just take your tape, your ruler, and then you just mark out a horizontal line at the bottom of that paper at the point where your 15.5 stop, which is going to serve as the waistline. Now that the waistline has been formed, I'm going to take my bust point. So I'm going to measure from the waist upward for my bust point. Now you can measure from your shoulder to where your bust level is, but I found out that measuring from my waist upward kind of works for me. So whatever works for you, you make sure you make do with that. So from the waist to my bust point, I have 7 inches, so I'm going to place 7 inches on that mark, and then I'm going to mark that across, and that will serve as my bust line. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and mark my bust line on the paper. Now that I've gotten that line, on that same line I'm going to place quarter of my bust circumference. Quarter of my bust circumference is 9 inches, and I'm going to be adding extra quarter of an inch or half an inch. You can add half, you can add more than half, 3/8 of an inch, depending on how much ease you want on your pattern. So I'm going to be adding quarter of an inch to that, and that will be 9 1/4, and I'll place that on the bust line. So now I have that on my bust line. I'm going to move down to the waistline, and I'll be placing quarter of my waist measurements on the waistline. So for my waist I have 30 inches, and divide that by 4, I have 7.5. I'll be adding an extra dart of 1.25, okay, to the waistline. So by the time you add 7.5 and 1.25 to the waistline for the dart, that will be 8.75. So I'll place 8.75 for my waistline, and I'll be connecting from the waistline to the bust line to form the side seam. So now that the side seam has been created, we're going to move to opening up the darts. Now for the darts, you need your bust distance from one bust to the other. So the distance from one bust to the other in my own case is 7.5, and you need to divide that by 2. So dividing that by 2, we have 3.75. So I place 3.75 on the bust line and 3.75 on the waistline. So now that I have these 2 points on the bust line and the waistline, I'll be connecting them with a straight line, and this line is going to be where we take our darts from. So after you've taken the straight line from the waistline up to the bust line, you're going to come down to the waistline to open up the dart legs. So at the waistline on both sides, you're going to be opening up the dart legs with 0.75 on both sides. You know, I said we took 1.25 for the darts, so I'll be opening up the darts with 0.75 on both sides. So now after opening up the darts on both sides, you're going to go back and reconnect it to form the dart shape for the back. Okay guys, so now that the back that has been created, we'll move to the top of the pattern, which is going to be the shoulder line. So I'm going to be drawing a straight line on that point at where the point where I had the 15.5 stop at the top. I'll be drawing a straight line, and that straight line is going to be the shoulder line. Now on that same line, I'll be taking my center back to the waist measurement of the back. So the center back to the waist measurement, I'll be placing it on that line, and I'm going to mark a point there. So for the center back, I had 14.5, so I'll just go and mark 14.5 at a point there. So after placing a point at 14.5 on the straight line, at the vertical line, we'll go back to the horizontal line at the shoulder, and we're going to be taking half of a shoulder measurements. My shoulder is 15 divided by 2. I have 7.5, so I'll place 7.5 at the shoulder line, and I'm going to drop it by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. So at that point where I have 7.5, I dropped it by 1 inch for the shoulder slope, and I'll be creating the shoulder side seam. So for the shoulder seam, I have 5 inches, so I'm going to pivot my ruler and ensure that it touches where 5 inch is at the shoulder line, and I'm going to be connecting those 2 points from the shoulder slope to where my 5 inch stop at the shoulder line. The shoulder slope and the shoulder seam has been formed. We'll move to the back neckline. For the back neckline, I'll take my French curve, place it at the point where my 5 inch meets the shoulder line, and I will connect to the point where I had my 14.5 on my straight line. So I'll be connecting to these 2 points together, and these 2 points will serve as the back neckline. Alright, so the back neckline has been formed. Moving on, we are going to be working on the armhole. For us to work on the armhole, you need to get your across back line. So to get your across back line, you place your tape or your ruler at the shoulder line and you mark 5 inch down. So you take 5 inch down from the top, which is the shoulder line, down to where 5 inch is, mark it across the paper and connect with a straight line. This line is going to serve as the across back line. So now that I have this line drawn, I will be placing my shoulder measurement, half of my shoulder measurement, which is 7.5. And to create the back armhole, I will take away 1/4 of an inch out from that line, inward, So from that line, I'll take 1/4 of an inch inward and mark that down as well. Now, after I have marked that down, I'll go back and take my French curve, and I'm going to be connecting it to form the armhole. So this is how you place your ruler on your pattern to create your armhole. So you place it at that point where your shoulders dropped by 1 inch. Ensure that you get the point accurately, and also ensure that your across back points where we went in by 1/4 of an inch, you also got that, and then your ruler curves all the way down to your bust line. So that is how to get the back arm. So now that the armhole has been formed, at the point where I have my across back line, I'll be taking a dart of 1/4 inch at both sides. So I'm going to be dividing the two together, and I'll be placing a dart at that point. Now, for you to know where your dart legs will stop at the back, you need to go back to your shoulder seam and get the midpoint. So I'll take my tape and measure my shoulder seam. What I had there was 5 inches, and I'll divide that by 2. That will be 2.5. So the point where I have 2.5, I'll place a mark there, and then use my ruler to draw a line, a slanted line from that point to meet the across back line. So when we've gotten to that point, you can now go ahead and open up your dart, and that is the point where the dart is going to stop.
Alright, so now that the dart has been drawn and the position where it's supposed to sit has been determined, I'm going to take my armhole measurement for the back. So I'll take my tape and I'll measure what I have from the top to where the underarm, where the armhole stopped for the front. And after taking this measurement, I had 9.25, which is okay. By the time you're taking the dots, it will kind of shift. Now at the waistline, I'll be adding extra half an inch to my waistline, and the reason why I'm adding extra half an inch to the side seam of my waistline is because I want to contour the back where the zipper will be sitting. Okay, so I want to take away half an inch from that point. So if I'm taking away half an inch from the center back, you need to add it back at the side seam. So that's what I've just done right now. I've added it back at the side seam. So I'll go back to my center line where the zipper is supposed to sit, and I'm going to take that half an inch. I will connect from the waist upward, and I will mark that, which is going to eliminate any form of zipper bulge or any form of fold at the back parts of this pattern. Alright guys, this is the end of this video. If you like this video, please subscribe, share and recommend to your friends. I'll see you guys in the second part, which is the front with a bust dart. Thank you and remain positive. Bye.